Hi, everyone. Welcome to Revolutionary Health. I'm Charles Stevens, the founder and executive director of the Counter Narrative Project.
I am David Malebranche, um,
No
resident.
witty response.
No, resident physician in charge
Oh, that's what
today
it,
and every Tuesday
resident
and
physician.
every day of my
RPI,
natural born life.
RPIC.
HNIC.
Uh,
Let's go. Come on. What are we talking about today?
What are we going to talk about today? So today we're going to talk about happiness. We're going to talk about Black gay men and happiness.
Mhm.
So we wanted to find out what y'all think about happiness. Are Black gay men happy? What does it mean to be happy? What does it mean to have a fulfilled life? Because we also recognize that happiness is an important part of being healthy.
Right.
So please let us know your thoughts. To that end, as always, please like us on Facebook. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way we can, that way you know when we are live so you can find out what's going on. And finally, please join our email list at thecounternarrative.org. So thank you, CNP Tribe. I see the likes coming in already. So David, where do we start?
I don't know. I was just as you were talking, as you were introducing that, I was just thinking to myself, it's really like a fluid concept because people ask like, what makes you happy, and can you ever find happiness? And
well, what makes you happy? Let's start with you. What makes you happy?
What makes me happy?
What does happiness mean for you?
I'm trying to. It's a hard question to kind of like pin down. I think feeling close to my family and friends, feeling that I'm loved and connected, that makes me happy. But on the converse, sometimes feeling detached and by myself it makes me happy transiently. But I think when we talk about happiness, it's not a static concept. So it's kind of like, to me, like, and because I'm the field I'm in, like doing work with HIV and STIs and stuff, people talk about sexual risk and they talk about like it's static, like you're always at risk for HIV or STIs. And I think of the same thing with happiness and or depression. I don't think there's some people that are chronically depressed, but I haven't heard of people being chronically happy. I think happiness kind of like ebbs and flows depending on your day, depending on how it goes, depending on if someone comes into your life at a moment and transfers some negative energy on you. You could be in a good mood before that and then come back.
When was the last time you were really, really, really happy?
Really happy. I was really happy the day that Daniel Driffin graduated.
Oh,
that day made me.
You hated him,
yeah. That day made me really, really happy, and it's not like this always exuberant joy where you're just like laughing and happy-go-lucky and acting a certain way. But it was almost like just this like calm, serene. Oh my God, this is like amazing to witness this. Like that, things like that make me happy. Seeing someone like grow, seeing someone learn something new, seeing that I could help someone. That I could do, my job, loving on someone, feeling a closeness with somebody, whether it be in
when you say loving on someone, what do you mean by that?
It could be like an intimate space, like feeling an intimate, like close connection with someone. It could be loving on someone like your family, knowing that something simple that you do makes them happy. That makes me happy. I think my happiness kind of feeds off other people's happiness too. So
I see Michael Anthony joined. Hey, Michael.
Hey.
Absolutely. I think for me, happiness. How do I want to answer that? I think, well, sometimes I'm happy when I feel like I have everything I need to do the work that is meaningful to me. Like when I feel like all the stars are aligned and all the dots are connected and I can just do what I'm called to do. I mean, there's something about that just really, I don't know. I feel really fulfilled in those moments.
Right.
I'm also really happy when I am with friends, when I'm in community, when I'm just having great conversations and telling stories and laughing at the same jokes over and over again. I think there's something about that as well. I love art. Sometimes I'm the happiest when I'm communing with art. And that's really just a part of my, I won't say my survival strategy, but kind of like my own personal, like, I don't know, the things I need to do routinely to keep myself intact.
Right.
That's definitely a part of that.
I think when I'm, as you were talking, I was thinking, I'm a Pisces. I don't know whether it has to do with my sign or not, but when I'm in water, especially ocean, um, if I were to, make a trip to the Caribbean, St. Martin or Barbados or Aruba or something, and I'm in the ocean and I'm looking at the sky, like I'm as content as and happy as could be. Sometimes a pool can get me there too. A certain pool can get me there, especially if it's like an infinity pool, kind of looking over some mountains, right? That'll get me happy. But for some reason, like water makes me really, really happy, especially ocean water, natural water, waves, current. That brings me a lot of joy and happiness, like being centered in that.
What do you think Black gay men need to know most about happiness?
Um, I don't know. I think that's a hard question. I think I would throw it back to the people who are watching to tell us, kind of the way me and Charles just said this, like what makes you happy as Black gay men.
But I also feel like in Atlanta, and I know this might sound a little, I think sometimes it's easy to mistake pleasure for happiness or mistake validation for happiness. So I do sometimes wonder if we might, and I've been guilty of this, so let me speak for myself, will sometimes think certain types of external validation will make me happy. If I just achieve this, or if I just get this, or if I just do this, then I'll finally be happy. Can folks relate to that? Like feeling a sense of, once I get to this, and of course, once you get there, then it's the goal moves, and it's like, well, if I can just get to the next level. So I wonder sometimes if that happens. I don't know if as Black gay men we really get the space to really do self-interrogation around what makes us happy.
Right. And I think it's mixed with so many different things.
Yeah.
From a racial and a sexual orientation and a cultural perspective, what gives us happiness or what feeds our spirit. Like you could say, church really feeds my spirit, and then you hear some kind of negative thing from a church or for a pastor, or from a preacher, and then you're kind of like, well, that's not making me feel happy. But yeah, but there are angles of it that can. So I think it can be very nuanced. But I think it's up to us to find what makes us happy.
Absolutely.
Seek it out. Kind of reject or rebuke the people that are trying to take away our happiness, which seems to be an everyday thing.
I know.
Pretty much.
It's almost like you have to be centered constantly and just really, I think it requires focus. And I mean, I do believe personally that, and this has been my experience, sometimes it can be hard to choose happiness.
Right.
I mean, it's so easy to get caught up in routine, or to just get caught up in what's familiar or what we know, even if on some level we have a understanding about what could make us happy, but to choose that, I think it can be really, really hard. Like I know I've definitely at times have been in situations where I've chosen what is comfortable or familiar or routine over what could possibly make me happy. And to be able to let go of that can be really hard.
Was choosing like starting the counter narrative years ago, was that like a happiness kind of moment?
Oh, that's such a good example, because that's true. Like that's part of it. I started the counter narrative in April 2014. And it was such a big decision for me because I had never done anything entrepreneurial. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I never wanted to run an organization necessarily, until it just, something in my heart just told me it just made sense, that I was ready. And when I chose it, like when I finally, bet on myself and took the risk and stepped out on faith, I guess you could say, just every day going to work, like that's when I knew it was the right decision. Because when I would be excited about the day, I would be excited about going to work, I would be excited about just what I was doing. I mean, so I shared that I started the Counter Narrative Project April 2014. That fall was one of the most difficult periods in my life. So around September, October, November 2014, my father died. Me and my best friend at the time, we, for various reasons, like our friendship didn't sustain. And I went through this breakup all in this of a span of like a month. Then I was starting, and then I was starting, and then there's a Counter project, and this new thing, and the work. And I wasn't like drowning myself in work or anything by no means, but there's something about this work and doing something that made me happy that really kept me in that really difficult space. Just having so much fulfillment and the meaning. I mean, it was a hard time, but it was also a very beautiful time because you know I loved the work that I was doing, and it brought me this incredible amount of peace and meaning in my life.
Right. It's almost like finding happiness in some of these things that happen, or finding meaning. I guess finding meaning can kind of.
And I like what you said. I mean, it's not the things that make you happy. It's not about the things that make you happy are always, I don't know, fun, are always
right.
the most exciting thing to do all the time. I mean, sometimes the things that make you happy, there can be tough spots. There can be, and I imagine that's in relationships. I imagine that's in all kinds of choices, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be real peaceful. I think it doesn't have to be like whitewater rafting with so and so, or finally paying off your student loans, or even though I gave the example of Daniel Griffin graduating, and that day, like that day, of course, is going to be a happy one. But there, I think, are quieter moments that can be happy and that can be joyous and that can be, really buoyant, and you're like, oh my God, this makes me feel so good. But it doesn't have to be this kind of, oh my God, it's the happiest day of my life, and da 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 da. But you feel it kind of inside, this kind of happiness that is hard to shake.
And part of why I wanted us to talk about happiness is because I hope we can start a conversation. I mean, if nothing else, like I just feel like we're so often presented with stories of despair and sadness and hurt and dudes in Atlanta ain't shit, and just all these sort of stories of pain and trauma. And I think that those are important stories to hold. I don't want to, but also, but there's also something about happiness and joy, and that we should also talk about.
And I think it comes from the inside too. A lot of times, I want to give a shout out to one of my mentees and a good friend, Leo Moore, who's out in Los Angeles. And Leo's a physician. And I knew Leo when he was a first year medical student. And Leo is always that person that is always smiling, always kind of enjoying stuff. And I want to say it was about a year or two ago, he made a conscious effort on social media because of the negativity that's often on social media and people wanting to clap back and kind of complain and wanting to I'm going to let somebody have it. Like we were just talking about, and doing all this kind of stuff. I could tell he was making a conscious effort to only post affirming things. And I think there's something very joyous about that. And it's not to say that you're denying what's happening in the world or some of the negative things. They are happening and we are thinking about them and they are affecting us. But I think you said happiness is a choice. Like, I think you can choose to kind of highlight these other things. And you can even take a sad situation or a bad situation that you think about. Like, for instance, one of my mentees now was just talking about some hard times he was having financially and some other things he was going through. But I could tell like the wheels were turning, and he wasn't down about it. Like, he knew what he needed to do, and he could actually see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's important, to be able to see that happiness, to maybe see that goal, to maybe see something where you can kind of look out, even if you're having a bad time with stuff. And that's where it involves like having friends, family, people you can kind of throw this stuff to. They can kind of give you perspective.
I mean, one of the decisions that I also made really early on was I only wanted to surround myself with people that contributed to my happiness. That doesn't mean that there can't be hard conversations. That doesn't mean I can't be challenged, but like I've never understood. Well, for me, it doesn't work for me, but having friends where we just spend a considerable amount of time tearing each other down, or we sort of normalize insulting each other. Like I just never, and I would have the conversation with people. I'm like, that's not how I move through the world. Like, I don't, I think it can be really easy to say something kind to someone. And so I get it. Like, I mean, I get that, in some friendships, it may make sense to have a certain kind of banter. But for me, it's like, I really want, and it's, I just want to be around people that contribute to my happiness. And I think that's a part of it too.
Yeah, I agree. I was just, I thought back to the moment at the SOS conference when Kevin got up and gave his talk. And I remember I was feeling very happy at that moment.
Oh yeah. So Kevin Tarver, let's back up. So the Counter Narrative Project received an award at the Saving Ourselves Symposium. What was it? 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago
in Birmingham. And each honoree at the symposium was there would be like a sort of a speech honoring that the award recipient.
Yeah.
And for Counter Narrative Project, now did you know he was going to do that?
I didn't know that he was going to do it.
We had no idea, but our brother Kevin Tarver got up and he introduced the Counter Narrative and talked about what we meant to him. And it was one of the most beautiful, moving testimonies to the work that we. I mean, I don't even know. I'm just like, wow, that he came up with that. I mean, it was just so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about it. It even brings me to tears now because I was thinking about it, and as you were talking, like for some reason that moment washed over me, and I was like, it's such a beautiful moment when somebody affirms you and tells you that what you're doing made a difference, and you're just going about your work,
going about my work,
and you're just doing this thing because you're passionate about it, and then someone comes around and says, "Hey, this is what that meant to me." Like. That's happiness because it also gives you fulfillment. And I think you're right about this whole thing with, validation or likes or social media, stuff like that. I don't care if I get like 5,000 likes on a post or something, but like to have a moment like that in person where someone gets up on a stage and tells you, what you meant to them or how important that was to their journey. That's just something that's fulfilling. So that was a beautiful moment to witness that and witness Kevin kind of preach about that on stage. That was wonderful.
Ivan says, I am a very, very happy person. Trust me, I have my unhappy days, but love, love, love helps me. Absolutely. And love can take many forms. I know that for many of us, absence in our lives of romantic love might sometimes inspire feelings of unhappiness. But I mean, I think that love comes in many forms and shapes, and I think that part of being happy is recognizing that love comes in many forms and shapes. I'll just leave it there.
Right.
Nathan Townsend joined us.
Hey, Nathan.
Nathan says, hey Nathan. But yeah, I think that, one of the things I also decided in my life is, I mean, it's so easy to try to be perfect, right? And I think in some ways trying to be perfect is the enemy of being happy, right? Because you're so invested in developing a kind of this artifice, right? This, constructed life that's not even real,
right?
Yeah,
that's told that what you're supposed to be. And I think you said something.
Like, do you find that people, when you have unhappy moments because, you're David Malebranche and you're a doctor and you have this pedigree and all these things, do you find that do you find that people assume that you should be
happy all the time, or it's like always good for you,
or that you can't be, or
I can't be sad.
Yeah,
I don't have the right to be sad. But I think also one of the things that you pointed on, and that's a good point too. Like, I think people judge from the outside as far as how you look at what you have, either monetarily or job wise or security, or what they perceive is love and affection in a relationship. You have no reason to be sad, but people slip in and out of that. But I think it's important to recognize that I think when we slip out of happiness, a lot of it has to do with the things that you're constructed to believe construe happiness. So, getting married, white picket fence, a dog. So people put this pressure on themselves. And for instance, I could tell for myself, like being 49, when I turned 40, all of a sudden I noticed among all my peers, all the Black gay men that I socialize with and I'm friends with, like a lot of people seem to be very focused on, I have to get married. I don't want to die alone. Wow. And that was kind of and I don't know where that was coming from. I don't know whether that was just society in general. I don't know whether that's certain friendship circles told us that once we turned 40, like there was this clock ticking, almost like women with giving birth. Like if we didn't get booed up, we were going to die alone. Wow. And I thought that was tragic because I think you miss out on the things in your life that can give you happiness if you're solely fixated on that one thing. And for a lot of us, it is that kind of one thing that we want to be connected with that one person. We want to experience love. And for me, I've been in love before 3 times that I knew of and had significant relationships. One time I didn't recognize it was love at the time and just completely fucked it up.
That was the Patti LaBelle.
No, that wasn't the Patti LaBelle. That was a different time. So I knew I was in love then. That was kind of more puppy love though.
Okay.
But the thing is that, you know, you don't realize that you're kind of in these things. And so for me, like if I go the rest of my life without having another partner, I'm actually okay. And so I won't look at it as it's a deficit on my part if I don't, you know, I'm almost 49. Like somebody said to me the other day, like you're 49, you're a physician, you have all this stuff. Why are you single? Like you're in Atlanta. Why are you single?
Well, they're trying to ask what's wrong with you.
Right.
Which is an insult.
And that's what, and actually he didn't ask it indirectly. He came around. He's like, I was thinking, what's wrong with this dude? Is he crazy? Or this, that, and the other. And I thought to myself, well, that's the wrong question, because if the meter by which we're measuring ourselves is that we have to be booed up in order to be validated, or in order to be full, or in order to not be perceived as fucked up or an idiot or a jerk, I thought that was kind of weird. So I bucked back at the question and I was like, well, if it happens, I'm open to it. And if I'm ready, I'm open to it. And if it's the right person, I'm open to it. But I'm not kind of searching for it like, oh my God, if I don't find this. And I think a lot of Black gay men, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to get booed up like this. Because of all the shit we go through in our personal lives.
And we think we'll be happy.
And we think we'll be happy. And I see people miserable as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
In their relationships. So I don't know. I'd rather like wait it out a little bit, meet the right person, then maybe construct what type of relationship we want to have that is not heteronormative in its construct and in its foundation. And then that way we can kind of grow together with it, or let us define what parameters we have for it. And let's grow from there. And that'll make me happy. Not, oh my God, I need to get booed up now because I don't want to die alone. Who's going to take care of me when I get old? Like that's not.
I don't want to die in my apartment alone.
Right.
That's the sort of.
I hear that. I hear that a lot.
Yeah, I just. It makes me sad,
right,
to hear that talking about. But yeah, I mean, but it's something that I think a lot of us go through, right. In our moments of despair.
Right.
I also think another part is sometimes I wonder, particularly when we're very early on, that we believe once we find community, we'll be happy then. So we grow up feeling sometimes disconnected or alone. A lot of us struggle when we're young, very young. Sometimes when we're much older, around our sexual identity.
Right.
And then we think, okay, we're gonna come into Black gay community and
it's
gonna be amazing, and the streets are paved with gold, and everything's gonna just be amazing.
And rainbow flags.
Happy Pride Month.
Yeah, exactly.
I see lots of comments. Michael Anthony Danielle says, happiness to me is a very introspective experience, and I find that many people may be unhappy because they refuse to find what that is for them specifically. Instead, they compare their lives to others who seem happy and try to replicate that. Perception can be dangerous. Absolutely.
Yeah, say that, Michael.
Absolutely. Nathan Townsend says, happiness starts with self-awareness and self-acceptance, developing your own narratives. I absolutely believe that.
Amen.
Absolutely. I mean, it really is about what makes you happy. And you can't compare yourself. And it's hard, but I mean, at the same time, it's hard.
Right.
I know sometimes I'll do it. I'll be like, but ultimately it's really about having a sense of self-awareness.
Right.
So again, we ask, what are some of the things that make you happy? How do you know that you're happy?
Right.
What does it mean to have a fulfilling life?
What was the happiest moment in your life?
We're asking a lot of questions.
We're asking a lot of questions. You could answer any one.
Bam.
Right. Any ones you want. But like, what was the happiest moment of your life where you remember like really being happy, like a joyous happy from the inside?
Joyous happiness. Yeah. I remember another happy memory I want to share is my first Black Pride in Atlanta. So this is, picture it, Atlanta, 1999, freshman year at Morehouse. This was Labor Day weekend, and it was just so much fun. Like I had my tribe with me. It was like me and Karan and Tori and Ashita. It was just like a group of us, and we were running around the Renaissance Hotel. There was a pool party. It was just crazy because I think that was the first time, first time I've been around that many Black gay people.
Right.
So it was just this really, really incredible moment, and it was almost transcendent. Like it was. I just didn't know that was possible.
Right.
And so, I mean, I'll often say that part of why I do this work is because I do have so many happy memories in our community. And I feel like in many ways it's our responsibility to help create happy memories for others.
Right.
Because I think that's an important part of resilience too.
Yeah, it is. And I think as you get older, I think what happens when we get older a lot of times is that we forget that people, especially like in Black gay enclaves, that people are coming into things at different parts of the journey. So when we're reaching our 40s or our 50s, we've done a lot of this stuff already. So we've become a little bit not disheartened, but almost like insensitive to kind of what's going on. So it may not seem that we're as happy as it is, but like to be able to embrace and support like the younger brothers who are coming up, who are like experiencing things for the first time, and not clown on them necessarily, but say like, oh my God, like enjoy this moment, like remember this moment and kind of what's going on. That has nothing to do with gay pride or anything, but I was speaking to Darnell Moore the other day, the author of No Ashes in the Fire. Shout out to Darnell Moore.
Shout out to Darnell.
Wonderful, wonderful book.
And also the CMP is having a book club. We're reading his book next month in July, so definitely hit us up for more info.
And Darnell was tired because he's on a tour right now for the book. And we were both talking about like how he needed to be present in the moment, because we were talking about how when you get to these spaces and he has to kind of perform and read and people are asking him all these questions, like leading up to it, he's very tired from doing all the touring left and right. But then once he gets there, like the community kind of lifts him up and makes him very happy. And you can see how it affects him when he's there. And I said, dude, like soak up this moment, because before you know it, the tour will be over and the hype about the book will be over. The book will carry on for a long period of time. But like this moment right here, where you're getting to travel to different cities and meet young Black queer communities in all these different cities that are going to be asking you questions, telling you how the book touched them and what it means to them, and communicating with you, like that's a special moment. And I could tell he's really appreciating it and happy with it. But it's a wonderful thing to behold. And I think those are the kind of moments, those are the kind of things that when you're thankful for that, you experience this kind of happiness. You're not worried about what somebody else is doing, or how much is my book going to sell? Like, is it going to make the New York Times bestseller list? Or how many people are going to like it? Or how many people are going to respond affirmingly and send me a message on social media? Like, you're not worried about that. You're present in the moment where you're sitting with a group of 30, 40 people.
But have you ever had like a really good day where you're just, the stars are aligned and everything is great, and you like your outfit, and you like
you're looking cute,
everything's perfect, and then somebody says something, one thing happens, and it completely shatters everything, and you completely come down.
Absolutely.
I think those are some of the moments when it's hardest to stay connected to it.
It happened on Saturday. Yeah.
Really?
No, and it was just a text message. It was
Somebody
text message.
sent you a crazy text message?
Not a crazy text message, but it was just something that kind of doused my mood a little bit. Yeah, and I was just kind of like, okay. And you sit in it for a little while and then you kind of move on. I'm a big proponent of, if we talk about happiness and we talk about the converse of it, the sadness, I'm a big proponent of when someone is feeling down, when I'm feeling down, I want to let it wash over me. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not unhappy. I'm going to let it wash over me. I may sleep. I may travel somewhere. I may do something else. I may run to a friend. I may go see a movie. I may do something, but I want to sit in it for a little while, not repress it, not deny that it didn't happen. And I find, for me at least, when I handle like moments where the world kind of turns on its end like that, I can come back to finding some happiness quicker. And I feel better afterwards. I don't know if that works for everybody, but that tends to work for me.
Do you have a song that you go to?
I don't know if there's a song that I go to. I thought of Keena, who used to sing with Brownstone.
Okay.
She had a song called Have a Cry. And her whole thing was like, don't give me positive speeches. Just let me have a cry. Don't tell me it's going to be all right. Just let me have a cry. And I would like absolutely love that song. And she sings the fuck out of it because she's telling somebody like, let me sit in this for this moment. Let me sit in this because I need to sit in it to get to the other side. And that's how I think. Do you have a song that like lifts you up or makes you happy?
Well, first, Michael Gibson has a comment.
Hey, Michael Gibson.
Hey, Michael Gibson. Comparing yourself to others is an act of violence against your authentic self.
Yes.
The God in you has no comparison. The same is true of others. He's quoting Iyanla Vanzant. So do I have a song? I used to have, I think at different points in my life, there would be music that would help.
Right.
Although I'm feeling a
Is there a
little
song
ashamed.
is there a song that makes you happy right now? When it comes on, it makes you happy.
I don't want to say.
Say it.
No.
Mine is When I Think of You by Janet Jackson. And when I see the video, I get even happier. And for y'all that do not know the song When I Think of You or have not seen the video, YouTube it and watch Janet. And if that video doesn't make you smile through it, I don't know what to tell you. Like that song, when it comes on, I just grin ear to ear and I'm happy for that little while. So thank you,
Cool.
Janet.
Thank you, Janet. Janet does so much good and asks so
She
little.
does. She does. She doesn't ask much of us.
She doesn't ask much at all. God, what is? I don't know what's.
Are you gonna tell the song or what? Come on.
I can't think of any. What do I like now, Johnny? What do I like? I don't even remember.
Johnny's like, what song makes you happy?
I don't think I have a happy song right now.
You had one that came in your mind and you're repressing it right now. You're pushing it out. You want to forget it.
Dave, you're making me unhappy right now.
You're taking away my happiness.
You're taking away my You're robbing me. It's an act of violence.
You're stealing my black boy joy right now.
Stealing my black. I wouldn't say my black boy joy. Other thoughts. What makes y'all happy? Come on, people. What are some advice, suggestions, songs? Oh, Carrie Sill says, on what Doctor was saying in regards to happiness in a relationship. I'll turn 57 in a couple of months. I've been in love twice in my life, and I'm fine with the fact that I will never fall again. And I'm happy with finally coming to grips with that. Also, I can honestly say that I have an equal balance of happiness and unhappiness. Okay, thank you for sharing that.
And you sit with that, yeah. I'm not like saying that it'll never happen again. I don't know whether it will or not, but I'm just like, it's not like my shoulders are up like, like it could happen or not, but I'm gonna still live my life, and I'm gonna have happiness with family, friends, my work, my engagement, what I do with community. Like that's gonna make me happy. So I'm not waiting on that magical man to come and rescue me and make me happy or somehow give me happiness.
But I feel like, we know that. I'm like, we've been talking about this for 30 years that, and it's just, but I guess it's a part of the human experience that no matter how many self-help books we read and how many what do people watch now, like what's the
Young to Fix My Life,
it's like on some small level it's hard not to believe that your happiness is associated with being with companionship and romantic love.
Right, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. You can find happiness without that. You can find happiness with it.
You can listen to Janet Jackson. What was the song?
When I Think of You.
When I Think of You. Okay, that was like what, mid Janet?
That was early Janet.
Early Janet?
That was 87 Janet.
87?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was 85 Janet. That was Control.
Was that Control?
Yeah,
you sure that wasn't?
Control. It's Control.
Rhythm? I don't know. I'm not up on my Janetology that well. I only like Rhythm Nation Janet. That's the Janet that makes me happy.
I know. Rhythm Nation does make me happy.
As much
too.
as I'm
Love Will Never Do makes me happy.
Yeah. I like what's the one where she goes into the warehouse or something and she's mad and she has
Pleasure Principle?
Pleasure Principle.
That's Control as well.
Yeah, because that was kind of transitional, Janet, when she was transitioning to Rhythm Nation, because she was kind of like
a little bit angry.
She was mad about the world.
A little bit radical. Just turned 20. She upset about everything. Right.
Yeah.
Come on, Janet.
I think so many of us also, I wonder how many of us associate happiness with trauma. Like I can think of so many moments where, especially for Black boys, where when we're a little too free, when we're a little too happy, somebody might come along and try to squash that. I know I've had experiences when I was in my Black boyhood where I wouldn't be paying attention to nobody. I'll be in my own world, and then somebody, you'll get surveilled, and it's like, don't do that, don't sit that way, don't walk like that, don't hold your hand like that. I remember one time, his brother told me this story about how when he was a little boy, he was just outside hitting cartwheels, and he was just having fun and just playing and hitting cartwheels, and then his father beat him because boys don't hit cartwheels.
I used to hit cartwheels all the time.
Yeah.
Cartwheels, roundoffs, tensicas.
This isn't a competition.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying, like,
that was part of your joy.
Yeah. Right, that was part of my joy too. I would hate that. That's sad that someone would like beat that out of him, because that gives you joy. Did you do cartwheels as a kid?
I did.
Fun.
I know we should go hit something. But I guess what I'm getting at is the freedom in our bodies, and the freedom to just be. And I think so. Part of it is also reconnecting to that,
right?
To reclaiming some.
How do we do that as adults?
Any advice on that?
Maybe every once in a while do a cartwheel.
I like that. I support that.
I'll do a cartwheel into a pool or into an ocean. That'll make me real happy while listening to Janet Jackson's When I Think of You.
Have you done that?
No.
You should.
But I'd love to.
Homework assignment.
I should, yeah.
So you can bring all the parts of your happiness together.
I'm going to Aruba in a couple months.
And what I like about that, I started to say it doesn't necessarily cost. I guess it would kind of cost to be in the pool. Okay, maybe. But I think
could be not. Who's to say? Right.
I don't think do I have something like that. I don't know. I'm too angsty to figure that out.
You don't have to on this show.
But I think what's funny. I think people make assumptions about what makes me happy, and I have to like.
What do they think makes you happy?
Oh my god, it's just stupid stuff. I'm like, no, that's not what makes me happy.
Can you give an example?
I think honestly, I think people think I probably sit at home reading bell hooks books or something all the time, and I'm like, no, that's not.
You don't.
What?
He's like,
sure,
no, right? He's like, okay, if that makes you happy to think.
Although
that's
sometimes
what makes
I
you
have
happy.
been known to read a bell hooks book.
Sure. And bell hooks can make people happy.
Bell hooks, she wrote a book on happiness.
She did.
Actually,
I didn't know that.
I'm pretty. Yeah, she's connected.
I know the book on masculinity. We Real Cool. I know that one.
She wrote like 3 of them. She did like a whole series. Yeah. Well, I think we're about at time.
Johnny's wrapping us up.
Johnny is wrapping us up. So again, thank you so much. Are any final closing thoughts on Black gay men and the art of happiness?
No, I think just find your own, and it's a journey. So what it means to be happy in your 20s may change in your 30s and your 40s and go out. So embrace and allow that change to happen, because you're going to be a different person as you go along this journey. So realize that like there may be some friendships that fall by the wayside because those people don't make you happy anymore, and they may become toxic. So, just embrace the journey and be receptive to whatever's going to give you happiness, because it may change over time.
Yeah, I guess I would say that. And again, this isn't to suggest that somehow David and myself are perfect at this, or that we've arrived at some destination. I mean, it's a constant, it's an everyday commitment.
Right.
But to that point, I do believe that happiness is a choice. It's like, it's hard sometimes to choose it. It's not always the easiest. The path to happiness isn't always the easiest path. And for me, my commitment is just remembering that and just being willing to, and not in a selfish way, right? It's not about, I'm just going to be happy, I'm going to do me.
Right.
Not that.
Right.
But it is a sense of just remembering every day the things that make you happy, the things that make you fulfilled, really.
Yeah, even the small things.
Even the small things.
Like, embrace those.
But that's one final thing.
Yeah.
And I appreciate how you share it, because I mean, and I don't know if we always think about this, particularly in our culture. Culture as an American or Western culture, but I think there's also something about service, to give and compassion, that can also be connected to happiness. I mean, how many of us have been not in a great space or not feeling really great, but then had an opportunity to serve someone, or to give somebody, or be compassionate, help someone out?
Absolutely.
I think that's an important component to happiness too.
Absolutely. That's a great point.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Remember, we are here Tuesdays at 7. Please like this video on Facebook if you're watching it on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to join our email list at thecounternarrative.org. Thank you so much.
We'll see y'all later.